what's so good about your new book? Gee, that's straight to the point. Well, look, I guess what's so good about it is that it works. And if people are prepared to put in the hard work and are prepared to be disciplined enough to just stick with the program, they will increase their beep test score by an average of 3 to 5 levels over a 6 week period. Yeah, sure. Look, I've been involved in the fitness industry for over 15 years now, and I'm a registered personal trainer with Fitness Australia. And I guess the background that led to me getting involved in specifically training people for the beep test was whilst I was a police officer with Victoria Police, which I was for 12 years. And the last 4 years of my time with Victoria Police was actually spent as a physical skills instructor at the police academy. And while I was there, I taught everything from fitness to firearms. But although we tested people on lots of different fitness tests, and what stood out to me was that it was always the beep test that people seemed to have the most amount of trouble with. And when I watched what it was that they were doing, it wasn't always the fitness that caused them to not be able to get the scores that they wanted, but very often it was actually the poor technique that people were using when they were actually performing the beep test. So, I found myself wanting to help people improve the way that they were going about their performance, and I found myself giving people some advice about their fitness training as well. And look, it helped. It helped a lot, and people were able to turn their scores around and really increase them by just doing what I consider to be the right type of training. And very often that's really all it comes down to. It's just doing the right training. Usually people who are preparing themselves for a beep test are quite motivated. It's often really just a case of ensuring that they're doing the right sort of training. And look, I guess what makes me an expert, as you ask, is really the fact that my clients have proven that the training program works. And I've been able to turn people around to get them going off in the right direction, and with their hard work and their discipline to sticking with the program, they've been able to get the results. So now I'm fortunate enough that I have people seeking me out to get the advice and the training program to ensure that they're doing the right sort of training. And look, I mean, as I say, people are usually prepared to put in the hard work. It's just to be able to give them the right information is terrific, and to see the results that come from doing the right sort of training is very rewarding. The top three things, gee, well, I guess the first and most important thing is that someone who's wanting to improve their beep test score has to have the right training program. It's got to be structured specifically for the beep test. And look, that's why I wrote the program, because there's lots of general fitness training programs out there, but very few are actually very specifically written to improve someone's beep test score. And obviously both the fitness and the performance are issues that have got to be dealt with. So the first thing, probably the most important thing, if someone wants to improve their beep test score, they've got to be following a properly structured training program that's specifically designed for the beep test. Second point would be that they're really going to need to have the discipline to stick with that program. And if you can't stick with it, you can't expect it to give you the results that you're looking for. So if you've got the discipline to stick with it, then half the battle's won. Because the structure, the formula, the recipe, if you like, is there. You've just got to follow the recipe in order to get the end result. And look, I guess the third thing is something that's very important as well, and that's, of course, the determination or the work ethic. You've got to be prepared to put in the work. The program itself can't do it for you. It can only show you the path. So you've got to be very, very determined, very prepared to put in the hard work. And look, towards the end of the program, some of the sessions are pretty grueling. So if they're prepared to put in the hard work, be disciplined and follow a properly structured training program, then the results will come. It's an easy one. People just need to get themselves a copy of the beep test training manual and make a start. It's all good to read and to listen to articles and interviews, etc. But of course, nothing happens until you take some action. So get yourself a copy and get going. Well, the results will actually come immediately, but it's important to distinguish the two separate areas that the manual addresses. The performance issues, the technique, the strategy, and all the tactics and tips that people should be using in order to perform the beep test correctly, those skills, if added to what you're currently doing, will increase your score by 1 to 2 levels straight off the bat. And that's just simply by changing the way that people go about performing the beep test. Of course, the fitness side of things is different again, but within 5 to 6 weeks of following the training program, people will see a huge increase in their fitness because it's specifically tailored for the needs of the beep test. And the great success about the program is that when you bring those two things together, the correct performance and an increase in your fitness, then that's when you're going to start to get some really good results of between 3 and 5 levels on average over a 5 to 6 week period. Yes, absolutely. In fact, my latest book has actually been influenced by some of my previous clients, and one client in particular who lives in Canada was out in the middle of nowhere, and he had no access to any fancy equipment, gymnasium, or even a training partner. And we had a lot of emails backwards and forwards, and a lot of the issues that he faced have actually now influenced the way in which I've written up the new manual. And so you won't need any of those things, and you won't need a training partner. You won't need fancy equipment. If you can get access to a training partner, it's helpful, but there's certainly some alternatives that are built into the program. And as far as anyone's concerned, yes, it's suitable for anyone. And there's some great flexibility also built into the program to cater for different fitness levels. And a lot of people will be just starting out, whereas there'll be plenty of people who are already quite fit, just need to really find something different to help them break through the ceiling that they may have reached. And so, for example, some of the drills are time-based, so you'll repeat a particular drill as many times as you can within a 60-second period. Now, someone who's quite unfit to begin with may only get 10 or 15 repetitions out within the minute, whereas someone who's already quite fit may get 50 or 60 repetitions out. So there is that flexibility built into the program, and a lot of the program is actually based around what your maximum heart rate is doing in terms of a percentage of that maximum. So again, there's certainly some flexibility there because of the structure of the program to accommodate anyone, whoever they are, wherever they might live. Well, like any fitness or exercise activity that someone's about to commence, they should see their doctor first just to make sure that there's no health issues that could be interfered with or impacted on by starting a new program. But in terms of having a fitness level already, it's not necessary because that's the whole idea of the program, and it is flexible enough to accommodate people with various fitness levels. Sure. Look, I think in terms of fitness, one tip is not going to make a big difference. You need to follow a structured training program. But certainly in terms of the beep test performance, there's some things that you can add increase your score instantly. And if I could give one tip to people in terms of improving the way that they actually perform the test, it would be this: run as slow as you possibly can. And if people do that, if they run as slow as they can, obviously within the restraints of the beep, you've got to keep up with the beeps, otherwise you'll be disqualified. But if you can run as slow as you can possibly get away with and still maintain the acceptable timing with those beeps that are sounding, then you've just made a massive improvement to the efficiency rate at which you perform the beep test. And that's an area that's really addressed very, very thoroughly in the manual. Because it's such an important thing. So if you're going to do the beep test, you've got to keep up with the beeps, of course, but run as slow as you possibly can and not a second faster than necessary. Yeah, well, certainly the most common fault, I guess, or mistake that people make is that they don't train specifically for the beep test. Very often people will go for long runs, they'll play netball a couple of extra times a week, they might go to the gym and start a weights training program. And again, it just comes back to not having a properly structured beep test training program. So that's the biggest mistake, is that people are not training specifically for the beep test. Look, in terms of performance, I think that's probably where people are making it hard for themselves. They're working hard at their fitness, but it's not really helping that much because the way in which they're applying that fitness through their beep test performance is just not right. And it's things like timing. Having the timing just out of whack is a big issue for people. If you're running too fast, you're wasting energy. Turning technique is another big issue. If you're approaching the line incorrectly, if you're placing your foot incorrectly, and the way that you structure your setup to the turn is really important. So there's lots of little things that people are doing, and I guess I wouldn't call them mistakes because they don't really know that they're doing the wrong thing. And if they could just be shown a better way, that's where that instant improvement in the scores comes from, because it doesn't take a lot of effort to actually change the way that you're doing some technique. It does take a little bit of effort, or a lot of effort, to increase your fitness, but probably the biggest mistakes would certainly come from the area of beep test performance and running technique, breathing technique, all of these things, rhythm and timing. There are lots of issues that can be dug down deeper and deeper, to really get the most out of the efficiency side of things. So, yeah, definitely performance is where most people, are making common mistakes. Uh, no, look, I don't think people will see this program as being too good to be true. I mean, it's delivered on its promise. It will add 3 to 5 levels to someone's beep test score, because it makes sense. And I often get that. I hear that a lot from people who are following my program. It may not be common sense. It may not be things that come naturally to people, but certainly when I explain the concepts of better beep test performance and how to train specifically for the beep test to increase their fitness, they often say that, yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. So it may not be common sense, but I think it makes sense. And when people read through it, I think that they'll appreciate that there is some very deliberate and specific structure there, and it's a very solid program. What's the catch? Well, the only catch is that you're going to have to be prepared to work hard. If you put in the work, you get the results. It's as simple as that. Yeah, look, I've always said that it's much easier to stay fit than it is to try and get fit in the first place. So certainly once people have completed the program, it is going to be easy for them to maintain that fitness level and maintain the efficiency at which they perform the beep test, because they've already developed those skills. They've already built those skills and achieved that level. But look, just to address it specifically, at the end of the beep test training program, there is a short program that people will go on to, which I call a maintenance program, and that'll address all of the things that they need to be doing to ensure that they don't slip back too far from the level that they've been able to reach by completing the program. Yeah, well, people can just head over to our website at primemotionfitness.com.au, have a look at the section on beep test, and you can order a copy of the book directly from our website. Yeah, there is a special offer, and it's 2 additional training guides that I'm going to include with the Mastering the Beep Test book. And that actually came about, again, because of feedback from clients and questions that I'd get from clients as they were going through their beep test training program. And the first is a nutritional guide, and it's not some general weight loss article that I've written. I've written it specifically for people going through this beep test training program, so they understand the importance of eating the right types of foods and why. The program actually has a sample menu over a weekly basis, and it will tell the people going through our book exactly what they should be eating the night before the official beep test, a few hours before, 30 minutes before, etc. So it's a very practical guide, again, deliberately written to complement the beep test training manual. The other thing is a guide that I've written, or an article about the pros and cons of using a treadmill for beep test training, which is certainly an issue for people wanting to increase their beep test. So both of those guides are actually included as a special bonus for those who want to get started on their beep test training program. Yeah, well, people can contact me via the website, via email, or directly via email at Russell, Russell, at primemotionfitness.com.au. Or if they want to call me, I'm happy to chat to people about their beep test training. they can find my number on the website again at Prime Motion Fitness. Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.